Okay, who doesn't like fish and chips? They are probably the most iconic fish dish in the country. It was our takeaway of choice, and it's still very, very special to all of us. I love great fish and chips. I'm going to do a little bit of gurnard in the tempura flour, which is a lot lighter and delicate, and then I'm going to use warihau, which is a bigger flaked fish, in the beer batter. The first one, this is just tempura flour. Now you can buy tempura flour in nearly every supermarket in the country now. You can make, there are tempura recipes where you make it with flour and egg yolks, etc. But if there's a great tempura flour, why wouldn't you just do that? It's super simple. Just have a bag in your pantry. So I've got a cup of that, and then I'm just, basically the ratios are pretty much around a cup and a quarter of liquid to a cup of flour. So this is a nice bubbly water. Just use soda water or sparkling water, and then I just eyeball it really. This is quite a thin batter, and I do it a little bit. I add a little bit of the liquid at a time. That gives me an opportunity to take out any lumps. It's more of a paste at this stage. I'm looking all the time at my texture or my thickness of my batter. Tempura, I just want a little covering, so I'm going to add a little bit more bubbly water, and that looks pretty good to me. So that's my tempura batter. We'll cook two side by side. Into my beer batter. So I've got a cup of regular flour, AP flour, and I've got a teaspoon of baking powder. Or of course you could just use self-rousing flour. Even when it's fish and chips, it's all about the ingredients. It's about the freshest fish. It's about the beautiful beer that you're going to make it with. You're going to get a better result. I love these guys, Moa. They do a great job. That sort of ratio that you keep in mind is basically around a cup of flour to about maybe a cup and a quarter of liquid. So that's looking a little bit thick for me still. So I'm going to add a little bit more beer. That's what I'm looking for. A little bit thicker than the tempura. And I quite like to leave the batters just to rest for 20 minutes before I use them. Okay, so that's my gurnard. Remember, tempura, a little bit more delicate fish, and that goes. And then I've got the warihau, which is a bigger flaked fish, and that's going into my beer batter. So I've heated the deep fryer up to 180 degrees. If you're doing it on top of the stove, the best way to do it, again, you want 180 degrees, but you mightn't have a thermometer to tell. So the best way to do it is bring it up to pretty hot, and then just grab a cube of bread and throw that in the hot oil. And if it takes about a minute to golden up and become crunchy and golden, that's about 180 degrees. Okay, so the one thing that I do is so I get good coverage, and then I let it come off, or let most of it drip off. Okay, this is the tempura. So we're just wanting a nice thin covering. And when we add it to the oil, I just add it to the oil slowly so it doesn't stick to the basket. And I just sort of bring it back and forth like that, and it just starts to cook the batter, and that way the fish won't stick to the basket. So that's my tempura. Now I'm going for my warihau in the beer batter, and it goes same thing. Just move it around a little bit, and it's in there as well. One of the sauces that I just love with fish and chips is a lovely tartare. There's a great one on the website, my tartare sauce. Simple, easy to make. There is a beautiful piece of gurnard. The thing about tempura, and I think that's why the Japanese love it so much and they do it on their vegetables, is that it's a very thin batter, and it's just adding this textural contrast. It's adding a little bit of richness, and that's why it works so beautifully with a very delicate flaked fish. Whereas our lovely beer battered warihau, look at the difference in this. So here we have the two pieces of battered fish, one with a tempura batter, which is a little bit lighter, a bit more delicate, suits sort of a smaller flaked fish, but equally as delicious. And then the beer battered fish, which everyone sort of loves that. You have a little bit more flavour from the beer in there. It's more of it really coats the fish. and creates this sort of, I guess, blanket around the fish where it steams the fish, so you have that beautiful contrast of cooked inside with this crunchy outer. I love them both. I don't have a favourite. I've got some tartare sauce served on there, a little bit of lemon juice. So I'm going to try the tempura first. Just so delicate. And I think fish with a small flake like that, I think it would be lost in the beer batter. Whereas the wariho lives for this sort of treatment. Look at that, crunchy. You can see the fish is still shiny and moist. I got to tell you, I thought I wouldn't have a favourite, but I do have a favourite. I really like the wariho and the beer batter. It's my sort of fish. I love a big flaky fish. Beautiful, crunchy, absolutely delicious. If you have great product, you're going to end up with a great result. Fresh fish, fresh batter, tartare sauce, squeeze of lemon juice, happy days.